Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope your exam of RBI Grade B Phase 1 was well and good. It's been 5 days since the exam happened, and I also appeared in the examination on 8th September, and I appeared the examination in the first shift. So in this video, I thought of sharing my experience of this year's Phase 1 examination and what are my inferences and deductions regarding cutoff, and there's been a lot of buzz on normalization, so I'll have a little bit of peripheral discussion on that as well, and what you need to do for the next round at this point of time. Let's begin the video. So my exam was in shift 1, which for which the reporting time was 7:30 a.m. and everything was on time. There was no such issue of candidates not being able to, enter the examination hall because of delay in their arrival. So there are no such cases as such was there in my center at least. Overall attendance would have been around 90% for that room in which I was sitting. The exam started at 8:30 a.m. The first section was general awareness section. This year, I think general awareness section for shift 1, please be informed that all my observations which I'm giving you, it could be biased because I appeared in shift 1 and most of it is based on what I experienced in my examination in shift 1 only. Although I have seen few comments regarding shift 2, and I will definitely try to communicate that as well. What is the general feeling with regard to shift 2 for this year? So in shift 1, the general awareness difficulty was moderate. I'm telling it as a moderate because compared to last year, I think there were less number of statement-based questions. Although there were considerable statement, but it was not like multiple statement based. So what used to happen in 2022 and 2023 is that you are usually given, let's say, four statements A, B, C, D, and then in the options you were given like A, B, C correct, only A and B correct. So these kind of questions were very less this time. I think hardly five, somewhere in 5 to 10 range. Question would these type of question will be. Most of the questions were one-liner, but yes, there were questions with lengthy statements, but it's just that you have to mark, let's say, correct option, or let's say you have to mark the incorrect option. It was something like that. So because of that, the GA was doable and easy this time. Although I've seen some of my friends, they also could not reach or read all the 80 questions, but their accuracy will be really high because they were really invested in the questions which they attempted. But if you are a fast reader, you are good in comprehension, you could have at least seen all the 80 questions and attempted as per your strategy. This is something which varies student to student. Again, it was conceptual and factual. So usually IBPS GA is very factual in nature. This is something what I have seen across all examinations of IBPS. This year also it was dominated by facts, but slight change, I'll say at least, some of the questions were there which you could have solved on the basis of your factual knowledge, especially those who are preparing for UPSC. I think 5 to 6 questions were there which you can solve on the basis of your UPSC knowledge. Like there was question on number of information commissioners, maximum number of information commissioners, number, and there was question on what affects southwest monsoon in India, and examples were the options were El Nino, La Nina, and Indian Ocean dipole, and options all was the answer for that. Then you have few questions on bicameral system, the name of the houses in UK under bicameral system. So these are some of the questions which were answerable from UPSC knowledge. So 5 questions were there, which is this number usually is less. I remember last year also there was one question which was related to Indian Ocean dipole only. They just asked you, they just explained the phenomena, and there was this Indian Ocean dash mentioned, and you were required to fill this blank in GA, and dipole was answer. So I have seen the share of these kind of questions are slightly increased. So I don't know what they are indicating, but yes, it's a good sign for those who are not very good in, cramming stuffs and who do not favor that kind of examinations. For them, it's a good sign. But yeah, overall, it was a scoring paper in GA this time. And I think if you ask me what would be a good attempt for GA this year, so I think attempt wise, anything above 45 plus is a good attempt. And score wise, I think 30 plus is a good score this year for GA. And this is achievable because in most of the standard stuffs which are there in the market, so you will get most of the questions from that. Although it will not be very direct in nature, but still I think 30 plus is manageable this year in GA. Coming to English, English has been consistently easy. This year I'm marking it as easy, but although I'll say it was lengthy, but the questions were not difficult or tricky in English this year. Even the parajumble with which they asked, which was in a typical, they gave 4 or 5 options and then asked which of the one is not in the flow of the passage. So it was not that difficult. And then again, RC was lengthy this year because I remember I skipped all the questions of RC and I directly solved all other questions. So in English, I think I solved about 23, 24 questions and I had like 8 minutes left. And then I went on to RC. And RC was, I think, quite lengthy. I think it was 5 paras in RC. And by the time I read the RC and understood it, it was already only 3 minutes left. So you can imagine 5 minutes gone only in reading RC. But then the questions which were there for RCs, it was pretty direct and you could have solved it easily. So that way, RC was, although lengthy, but it was still solvable in nature. Another observation for English this year that option combos were really easy. What do I mean by option combos? Is like, for example, in some of the questions where they give you 4 parts A, B, C, D. So there is a paragraph, and then they have marked 4 phrases in bold, and then they ask you have to exchange these to make it contextually and grammatically correct. So this kind of question is there. So in these type of questions, let's say this is a question in which A, B, and C, D. So this is the answer. So in these type of questions, they have given options like, BC only, then AC, and BD, something like this they'll give you. And there will be only one option which will mention CD. So you have to only check CD. And if this swap is right, then you can directly reach your answer. So strategically, if you're looking into options and then you are checking, so you'll be able to reach your answer in a very quick manner. So this is what I did in English, and I think it worked, and that is why I had 8 minutes left by the time I reached RC, which was the only section left in English. So English was really easy. I think a good attempt in English this year would be score would be 20 plus for English. If you're scoring 20 plus, 20 plus, really good score. Now coming to Quant, I think Quant was the most difficult section for me this year. So in my past attempts, its reasoning has been really a pain for me. But this year, I think Quant, it totally blew me off. I was not at all prepared for this level of Quant. And I tried finding easy questions, one-liner questions, and literally there was nothing in the paper which was easy. Although it had one small questions like sequence questions were there. 3 questions were there in sequence, and all those three were very tough. I tried solving them, each of them, but it took my two minutes. Each question took, and 6 minutes were totally wasted. Could not solve any of the sequence. I'll be very honest. Then I went on to solve some of the areas which I was comfortable in, like quadratic equation was there, and then there was one question on speed and distance, so that I was able to solve. So like this, I tried to solve questions But again, it was very tough. DI was very lengthy. I'm not sure whether it was solvable or not because I did not have the courage because my mind was totally blank with what was going on in the examination. Because I'll tell you my experience. The first question which I marked for solving in quant, so it was that typical investment question where there were three investors and one of them invested for 12 months, another one withdrew money after 4 months, and then another third person came and he invested for the rest of the month, and you have some profit given and you have to find this C's share, something like that was the question. So I patiently solved this question. And by the time I reached the end, there was literally no option which was close to my answer. So I redid the entire question. I was not able to find the answer. And it took 7 minutes of my time. And I thought my paper is gone. And ultimately, I there is still a risk that it's gone. You never know. But yeah, so this is all about quant. So so there was no easy question, and whatever questions were there which you think you'll be able to solve, it involved very complex calculation. It was time taking. Shift one quant has been most difficult in the history of RBI so far, in my experience, and I think uh, it will play a very decisive role in not only deciding the overall cutoff, but also the normalization part, which I'll be discussing in the later part of the video. But I think there will be normalization, especially in the quant section of shift one, and people will be benefited in quant section because of this normalization if it happens. Speaking of good attempt, I think if you have attempted four or more, it's a very, very good attempt in quant this year. Safe score is 3.5, in my opinion. If you're scoring more than 3.5, you should clear the sectional cutoff of quant this year. Now, coming to reasoning, I think reasoning was more or less on similar level to last year. However, it was slightly easy in the sense that the puzzles were solvable. Although I did not solve any puzzles, I'll be very frank with you because I do not solve puzzles in RBI exams. But I have seen many of the students giving this feedback that yes, puzzles were solvable this time. It was just two variable puzzles. Most of the puzzles were like that, so that was solvable. Critical reasoning was doable in my opinion. So I did critical reasoning questions. Then there were direction questions. Then there were salogs. So these were the questions which I targeted and I attempted. I took my time. And there were some one-liners, simple one-liners, like you have been given one word, and you need to follow some steps to the output, select the correct option. And so this kind of question was there. Input output, I did not have time to go through it. I will not be able to comment the level of input output. But yes, also one question was there in reasoning which I solved three times, but I was not able to get the answer. So if any one of you from shift one who remember this question, if you could comment it, it will be really grateful. Uh, but I'll be really grateful. But yeah, so question was something like this. I think you had 7 to 8. I think 8 digit number was there, and they told to add +1 or +2. I don't remember exactly to the second, fourth, seventh, and eighth. You had to add +1, and then you had to subtract -2 from the remaining numbers, and whatever number you are getting, you had to eliminate the repeated numbers. The numbers which are getting repeated, you had to eliminate that and then arrange it in descending order. And the number whatever your number that you were getting, I think it was a 6 digit number that you were getting. You had to find the sum of the second digit from the right and third digit from the left. The sum of these two digits was asked, which I was getting as 10, 7, 3 plus 7. And 10 was not an option. So I solved it like three times. Maybe I was doing it in something was wrong from my end. But if you remember this question and if any one of you has solved it and got the right answer, please comment for that. So that's all about reasoning. I think if 15, if you're scoring 15 or more in reasoning, it's a very good score this year. Coming to the attempts and cutoff section, I think I'll brief you about my view on normalization in a while. But first, let's see what could be the sectional cutoff. I think Quant 3 because it was very tough this year. Reasoning 12, English 9, GA 16. These are the usual sectional cutoff. It should not go beyond that. But yeah, quant will be decisive because if this cutoff goes high, the overall cutoff will go low. The overall cutoff, I think, should not be beyond 70 marks. The reason is simple. In Shift 2, I have heard that GA was very tough. In Shift 1 quant, I have experienced that quant was very tough. So I don't think there is a scope of going cutoff going more than 70. Although seats are one third, although seats are one third, still I think cutoff should not go beyond that. Because even if you see what happened last year, so last year you had 222 seats. For general, it was 108. And I think around 1300, 1400 were selected from general categories for phase two examination. So what happens is in any exam, it follows a pattern of bell curve where most of the students are in this range. Very few are in this range and very few are in this range. So of course, these are the ones who are selected. Cutoff is somewhere here. So, so the difference of marks between these, the distribution of marks is very skewed. Skewed in the sense is most of the students will lie here and very few will lie here. It is something like this. So very few will lie here. So if this was the cutoff 54 last year, so this is like you can say this boundary is let's say 60. So out of these 1400 students, I think 1000 will lie here and the remaining 400 will lie here. So had there been one third seats last year, the cutoff would have been somewhere here, which would have been let's say 62, 63 marks, where you will see by going by the same selection ratio what was there, you would hardly have like 450 students. So 60, 62, 63, something like that will be the cutoff. So this is the general idea I'm trying to convey that most of the students they lie close to cutoff, and as you go far, the distribution is less. So it clearly means that even last year at the same level, the cutoff would have been 60, 62. So this year paper is slightly easy. Overall, it's easy, but quants is tough. GA is tough, and shift two. So the overall cutoff should not go beyond 65 to 70 in my opinion. 70 I've taken at the higher end, but anything can happen. But this is my inference for this examination. Now, addressing the elephant in the room, which is normalization, there has been a lot of talk. I think normalization's buzz has been, I can clearly say it has been most this year compared to any of the years previously. And this is mainly because of huge difference in the questions difficulty level, especially quant in shift one to shift two and general awareness in shift two to shift one. So I'm trying to address how normalization is usually done and what can we expect, how much marks can we expect this year as normalization. So this is a curve for shift one. Let's take quant for example. So this is the curve for quant shift one appeared students. So here you will have all the marks, and on the y-axis you have number of students who have scored these marks. So zero, let's take zero somewhere here. You have -1 here, -2 here, and similarly here you have 10. Here you can take 15. So it's a usual normal distribution curve where you can see very few students are scoring more than 10. Most of them are between 0 to 4, and few of them are 4 to 10. So this is a general distribution curve for shift 1 quants. This is for shift 2. Similar thing, similar on the similar scale it has been plotted. So you can clearly see that more students are scoring higher marks than compared to shift 1. So average of shift 1 is somewhere here. Let's say it is 8, and average for shift, sorry, this is for shift 2, average for shift 2 is somewhere here 8, and average for shift 1 is somewhere here, let's say 2 or 1. So these are all imaginary numbers. In actual, it can vary a lot, even it can go in negative, or it can be 4 or 5, one never knows. So clearly it is established that shift 1 was more difficult compared to shift 2 for quants. So now they want to normalize it. Basically, it is mentioned in the notification that they'll be using equi percentile method. So basically, what they do is they rank students of both the shifts. They find out the percentile, and the ultimate aim is to make the scores on the same percentiles as close as possible. So they basically, so they're trying to overlap these two curves. So it will something become like this, what they're trying to do. However, in reality, the curves are not usually this smooth or this much well, let's say, well symmetrically distributed, symmetrically skewed. So it can vary in reality, but the idea is this, that they'll stretch this curve to fit this curve, or they'll either compress this curve, or they can stretch this curve. So usually they stretch it and do a little bit of compression in the easier shifts. So here you can see that this curve has been stretched to match as far as possible the second curve. So clearly this student, someone, all these students who are here, let's say this is -4. So they will go here, which is -1. So they will gain. Similarly, these students who are on the average, which is 4, they'll be close to 8. So something now, how much mark will it increase? As you can see, -4 to -1. So here it is +3, here it is +4. So it is not uniform. So it can vary according to the percentile distribution. One never knows what will be the exact number. So, but yes, last year it was, I think many students, they gained 3.5 marks in their quant sections. I personally did not gain any mark because I had more than 10 marks last year. So clearly I was somewhere here. So those who are here, they do not, it is highly unlikely that they'll lose marks or they'll gain, especially in the easier shifts. But these people, they will gain a little. These people, they will not lose a lot. So this is the resultant curve, which is an overlap curve of both these curves. So either you increase this curve or decrease this curve or do both. So usually they'll do both because they want to get the best fit. So this is how normalization is done, and it depends on how the actual distribution is. But based on what has happened this year, I think one can definitely infer the fact that shift one students will be gaining marks, shift two probably they'll be losing marks, but not that much. However, in GA, I think shift two will be gaining marks and shift one will be losing marks. So this is how it should be this year. So what should be the next steps until results are out? I think results will be most probably out on Monday or Tuesday. It should not go beyond that. But under what circumstance it can go till 20th September. So it should definitely come before 20th. So till then you have time. I think you should study management till results are declared. You can easily cover management in 7 to 8 days. Holistically, you can cover it. The application part, the things that you need to cram, everything you can do it. Use mnemonics to cram most of the points because the questions are fairly direct in management in descriptive section. And in objective, it is application based, so you can practice MCQs for that. So it's not a big deal. So you can easily finish management once and for all. And maybe you can revise it before the 3-4 days before the examination, and you will be good to go. If you have finished management, you should move to the static portion, ESI and finance. Here, I have explicitly covered how you could approach ESI and finance for grade B phase 2 examination. So do have a look into this video. This video is on the channel and it is definitely going to help you. Thank you. Keep preparing, and I hope you clear the examination. And just for inquisitive people who really want to see what GA will ask in the phase 1 shift 1 examination, you can download this from my Telegram group. I have compiled the questions along with the answers. So there are 67 questions. And please note that these are not full questions. I have given indicative questions, not indicative, indication of how questions were actually framed. So it is not framed in detail, but you'll get an idea of what exactly question was along with the answers. And if you have matched those answers, or please comment your expected marks. And if you have any other feedback or your particular observation for this paper this year, please let me know in the